Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to tackle one of the biggest and honestly most expensive myths floating around in business right now. It's this idea that your internal IT team should be the one to lead your company's charge into AI. Now, this one single mistake, it can literally cost companies millions and set them back years. So, let's break down why.
Okay, I know this might sound a little harsh, but stick with me, because this is the core truth we're going to unpack today. Getting this one sentence right might just save you months, if not years, of total frustration. So why is relying on your awesome, hardworking IT team for AI such a flawed strategy?
Well, it all starts with what we can call the internal AI myth. And, on the surface, it sounds so responsible, right? It seems like the most careful, logical way to approach AI. But as we're about to see, this sensible-sounding idea is often a one-way ticket to delay and ultimately failure.
This is the trap. It's the false choice that so many leaders present themselves with. It feels prudent, doesn't it? Like you're being cautious and saving money. But this way of thinking is one of the fastest ways to burn through time and resources without ever deploying a single, effective AI system that actually helps anyone.
And from there, you get these questions, right? The pressure to do something about AI is huge. So businesses start looking around the room. Who can we give this to? It's a totally understandable reaction, but it starts the whole process off on the wrong foot. You're focusing on who will own it instead of what problem needs to be solved.
So all this internal back and forth, it leads us to a pretty unsettling truth that most people don't like to talk about. To really win with AI, you have to draw a very, very clear line between two completely different types of people, the generalist and the specialist.
Okay, take a look at this, because the contrast it's just night and day. Your IT team, they are the absolute heroes keeping the lights on, managing infrastructure, making sure security is tight, handling support tickets. They are essential. But an AI implementation specialist, that's a totally different beast. They're like architects of change. They're focused on redesigning how you work, structuring data, managing new kinds of risk, and the big one, getting people to actually use the new tools. They're not just installing software, they're re-engineering how work gets done.
And look, this isn't just my opinion. The market data is practically screaming this at us. If you want to know why that DIY approach is so hard, just look at the numbers. The scarcity and the cost of real AI talent tell a very, very clear story. First off, the demand is just staggering. A study from 𝗪𝘁𝗵 found that 92% of tech leaders are on the hunt for people with AI skills. Think about that. Pretty much everyone needs this talent all at the same time.
And here's the roadblock. That same study shows that for over 40% of those leaders, the sky-high salary expectations make it incredibly hard to actually hire the people they need. The talent is out there, but man, is it expensive.
And this number really drives the point home. According to PwC Australia, workers with AI skills are pulling in a 56% wage premium on average. So that idea of just, hiring an AI person, for a lot of businesses, that's just not realistic.
So, what's the bottom line? What actually works? Well, research from MIT found that projects built with external partners have a 67% chance of actually getting deployed successfully. Compare that to just 33% for tools built entirely in-house. You heard that right. It's double the success rate. It's not just about building a tool. It's about having the expertise to get it across the finish line.
So what does this look like when it goes wrong in the real world? Let's dive into a bit of a cautionary tale, a case study that shows exactly what happens when that DIY approach goes off the rails.
So get this. One company had racked up 15 failed AI proof of concepts. They were incredibly busy, they were spending money, they were definitely active. But activity isn't the same as progress.
And after all that work, all that spending, what was the result? A big, fat zero. 0% user adoption. Not a single person was using any of the 15 tools they had built. It was a complete waste, not because the tech was bad, but because the projects had zero implementation discipline.
So, what was the turning point? Well, the company finally hit a wall and realized their whole approach was broken. They brought in outside specialists who actually understood things like governance, workflow design, and operational architecture. And check out the result. They actually managed to rescue a ton of that work. 8 of those 15 failed projects, they got them successfully deployed once the specialists redesigned the entire approach.
But honestly, this is the number that tells the whole story. They went from zero adoption to 77% of people using the tools in just 6 months. This proves the problem was never the AI, and it wasn't the internal team. It was the lack of expert design from the get-go.
All right, so we've seen the myth and the mess it can create. Let's talk about the solution. There is a much, much smarter path forward, and it all starts by shifting your focus from who is going to do AI to where it needs to be applied.
Here is a super simple 4-week framework to keep you on the right track. Week 1, you're going to focus on operational friction, not job titles. Week 2, you'll learn the crucial difference between your team's familiarity with the business and a specialist's expertise in implementation. Week 3, you bring those specialists in early. And Week 4, you divide up the work intelligently.
But really, the biggest mindset shift you need to make happens right here in step 1. You have to stop asking who can own AI and start asking a much better question. Where is the bottleneck in our company? Where is the repetitive work, the service delay, the knowledge gap? An AI project should never start with an internal job title. It has to start with an operational problem.
So, as we start to pull this all together, it's really important to understand what the real AI divide is. It's not about the companies using AI versus the ones who aren't. No, the real divide is between businesses that treat AI like an internal side project and those that treat it like a specialist discipline. And that, right there, is the difference between success and failure.
And you might be thinking, oh, that's just for the big guys. But it's not. The data shows that for small businesses, the biggest barriers are things like uncertainty and just not knowing where to start. What's interesting is what's not on the list. Cost isn't the main fear. The real blocker is a crisis of confidence, and that is exactly what an expert partner is there to solve. And this table? This is basically the playbook for how this should work. Your business provides the context. You know your priorities, your customers, your constraints. The specialist partner provides the architecture, the workflow analysis, the system design, and those all-important guardrails, the rules that keep the AI on track. This smart division of labor is what actually gets results.
So, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Forget about who is going to own AI for a second. Instead, think about your daily operations. What is the one bottleneck, the one point of friction that drives everyone crazy that could be completely transformed if you just brought in a specialist to look at it? Answering that question, that's your real first step.